Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, feeling good about good feel. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, joined as always by my co-host, Mark Mitchell.
Hey, Patrick, how's it going?
Going all right, Mark. How are you?
Pretty good. Hey, real quick, we don't have to dwell on this for super long, but what's up with that new King Arthur movie that's coming out?
I can't say that I'm aware of a new King Arthur movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, there's a new King Arthur movie.
Is it like the beginning of a new King Arthur cinematic universe?
I imagine that, yes. I imagine the answer to that answer is yes, because the subtitle is like Legend of the Sword.
No.
Which, but here's
it's not.
It is, or something like that, but it has a subtitle.
Uh-huh.
Directed by Guy Ritchie.
Okay.
Starring Charlie Hunnam,
Hunnam?
the guy from Pacific Rim and Sons of Anarchy and stuff.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Jude Law's the bad guy.
All right.
It looks like bland in that way where you're like, this had to have been enormously expensive.
One of those like Kingdom of Heaven or that, what was that Robin Hood movie that Ridley Scott made?
More the Robin Hood.
Okay.
More the Robin Hood than the Kingdom of Heaven. Because like both those are Ridley Scott, aren't they?
I don't know.
I think they are. Anyways, I would say check out a trailer, but don't.
Oh, okay, great. Let's move on to the weather report.
So nice.
So nice.
It was rainy yesterday.
Thunder and lightning. I heard a big thunderclap. It was cool because we don't get those here.
We really don't.
That's good. We've got some debugging to do.
Little bit.
A little bit of debugging. We were talking about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe last week, which you have now listened to a full week ago because you listened to it the day it comes out. And we said, hey, where's that Crazy 8 item?
Yeah, I think I said that I didn't think it was in there.
Yeah, we said, hey, Crazy 8, where'd you go? Turns out it's there.
It is, yes.
It's in the game.
Although I still haven't seen it in action or like got it, like received it.
Right.
But I just saw it like as it was going through.
That it was in the options. Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like it's not a very common item in the original game, so maybe even less common when it's crowded out by, that feather that lets you jump or the ghost. Those are the only two new items, right?
You'd know more than I would.
That's a great point. Mark, what have you been playing?
Well, we've both been playing Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest.
That is true.
And part 3 of our play along will be coming out a week from Thursday.
Right.
And
I think that's part 3 is where we really turn on the game, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. We're not really having fun.
We are not.
And before the Get Good Brigade starts flooding us with emails, just let it be known that I feel like playing a game as an adult, and so approaching this game with fresh eyes from the first time versus playing it as a kid when your time is meaningless.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, I can die at this a million times because my other option is to do homework, which I don't want to do.
Well, okay. Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're making a compelling argument for our time is more valuable than just to slam our heads against the wall playing Donkey Kong Country 2.
But the point of my point is that it does. I don't think you can compare your experience with this game as a child when an unforgiving difficulty is just an obstacle to be overcome.
Sure, it's value.
Yeah. Versus as an adult when you're just like, wait, but this isn't fun and I can be doing so much more fun things because I have money.
I mean, I think that's the thing, right? Is that the challenge has not delivered much fun to us. by the way, if you're enjoying us complaining about this right now, like just wait.
Oh man.
We've got so much more of this for you if you tune in every other Thursday. Actually, let's stow the rest of this for
All right.
for these conversations.
That's fair. I will just say, if you really like Donkey Kong Country 2, I would love to hear from you and an explanation as to why. Explain yourself.
Explain yourself. So far,
I think it's a bad game.
We're not feeling it.
Yeah.
Like, profoundly, we think it's a bad game.
Yeah.
Also, we checked out some video of Donkey Kong Country 3. Seems like it might be as good, right?
If not, yeah, as good.
Right.
I won't go so far as to say if not better.
Right. We can throw like a little bit of shade here. I don't know that we want to come out swinging saying definitely DKC 3 greater than DKC 2. Also, I've been playing Breath of the Wild. Obviously, Mark, earlier today, I rolled credits on that game.
Wow.
I defeated Ganon. I got the last Divine Beast yesterday and was just like feeling the momentum, and I was like, let's do it. Let's go to Hyrule Castle.
How many shrines do you think you ended up doing?
I did 78 shrines.
Nice.
And I've got just over 100 Korok seeds, which is still insane to me that there's like 800 more of them scattered around the world.
1/9.
Yeah, 1/9. I have 11%.
What did you think of? So the last Divine Beast you did was the bird, right?
Yeah.
And so now that you've done all 4, which one was like your favorite? Which one was?
So I think I've got 2 favorites, and they were my first 2. The Gerudo and the Zora beasts. Although I found the bird Divine Beast to be super easy. Like I got my way to all the terminals almost by accident. And the camel was like the most kind of involved of them, where you had to like try all the different permutations, and sometimes it like kind of grinds against like the inconvenience of just having to like trial and error figure it out. Wasn't as much fun as I think the elephant, the Zora one. That was me working it out in real time. Which one was my favorite?
Yeah, I would say my least favorite was the volcano one.
Yeah.
There's just nothing really like I didn't like the approach to it, or as in like when you have to do that kind of escort mission thingy.
The escort mission,
that was my least favorite one of those.
Yeah, the escort mission is a bummer, and I think all the other peoples of Hyrule are so like humanoid, and the Gorons are just like enough different that they almost feel like I'm in a different game, you know? Like they're cartoon characters in the world of Hyrule. So like, I don't know, I think just maybe that's my least favorite region for that reason. I'm not in love with the Gorons the way I am with the other people.
Was that the one where it was like pitch black when you play through the first part of it, like until you get the map?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So I thought that actually mechanic was interesting and cool.
Yeah.
And once you get further into it, and it's like flipping over and all this kind of stuff, like you understand why they couldn't continue that. But I kind of wish they would have scrapped the other aspect of it and just kind of focused more on that, because I thought it was interesting.
Well, here's a question for you. Have you been to I don't know what it's called, but like the Blackout Forest?
Yes.
Because that does a lot of that, except it's like even darker. You can be like lighting torches, and it casts so little light around.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that's a cool area.
I'm actually kind of glad I did the bird one first, because I liked Rivali's Gale.
Yeah,
like being able to jump.
Oh man,
like,
Rivali's Gale. It's a revelation.
Yeah, because the other 3 I don't really use that often.
Oh, I have used all of them all the time. Like when I've got Mifa's Grace, I'm like, I'm fine. I can take the hits down to 0 and then get my life filled up. And I'm kind of using Z targeting in combat all the time anyway. So like I'm using Daruk's protection unintentionally all the time. And there's nothing like Urbosa's Fury to kill a Lionel. Like, it's so good at taking them down.
I'll have to try that. I haven't used it at all.
It's so good because it stuns them. It's an automatic stun, and then you can just beat the crap out of them. And if you've got like a decently leveled weapon, you know, something in like the 30s or 40s range, you can knock him out with that lightning 3 times, and each time just like wail on him with the weapon. And if it's like a regular Lionel, or just as long as it's not like a white or silver Lionel, you can take him out really without giving him a chance to get at you.
I've been doing a lot of the side quest stuff that I haven't done yet. Like, I went back to the village and bought the house.
Oh, great.
And, bought all the furniture and everything that I could.
Yep. Do you have weapons in? Did you put things in the mounts?
Yeah. I wanted to put the Master Sword there and just leave it till I was going to go take on Ganon, but
Awesome.
It doesn't let you.
Oh. Well.
Like, you can't put everything else you can, but the Master Sword you can't.
Right.
Put there. So, I'm kind of torn. I'm after I finish some of the side quest stuff I have going on, I guess I'll probably head towards Ganon, even though I haven't found every shrine. So you've hit credits. Does that mean that at least for now you think you're done, or will you continue? Yeah,
I hit credits and then jumped right back in. I mean, there was just like stuff that I had done in the approach in Hyrule Castle that I was like, oh, I should really level up this armor. Or like, oh, I only need to catch a few more fireflies to upgrade that. And like, at this point, it's all like a vanity game, right? Like, I know I can go in there and beat Ganon without like a ton of like, it was on a whim that I was like, I'm going to go in there. And normally I would have like loaded up on some, hearty mixed vegetables or something to, really be sure that I was going to be fine. And I had maybe like 1 or 2 of them with me, and was able to beat him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know what Ganon's like, but I have reached the point where I don't feel overpowered, but there's nothing that I encounter that scares me. Like the bosses of the Divine Beast went down so easy.
Oh yeah.
That like tremor type thing that's out in the desert.
Yeah.
Those things, like there's nothing. So
the only thing that like intimidates me at this point, it's not even like intimidation just so much as like I know I have to be prepared to fight it, are the silver Lionels. Those guys are tough. They can still knock me out. Like for real. But also like I can just volley away from there and, shoot them with explosive arrows or something. And
yeah, and I guess usually when I'm going into a fight like that, I prep with like the silver Lionels specifically, I prep with like damage protection. Like I up my armor, eat something to like up my armor by 3 times, and then it's just like, oh, you can do whatever you want to me. It takes away half heart.
Right. No big deal. What kind of armor are you wearing?
I don't know what you have or haven't discovered yet, so I don't want to spoil it.
That's a fair point.
But I'm wearing one that I feel pretty cool about.
Okay.
Requires some luminous stones.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so
all right, great.
What about you?
Well, now I also don't want to spoil for other people. But suffice it to say that I swap out armor all the time.
Yeah, also true.
Like I will do the thing where I've got some just protective armor when I'm fighting a Lionel, and then the second I stun him, I'm like, nope, barbarian stuff goes on to get that attack bonus, and then wail on him for a little bit, and then switch it all back. So, yeah, no,
and you kind of have to, depending on just like environmental stuff as well.
Yeah, of course. And then you get like that kind of hodgepodge where you're like, okay, fireproof hat and climbing gear and something else for some other kind of boost.
I do wish after you've either gone in for the first time or you defeat the Divine Beast or whatever, that you don't have to keep switching into Gerudo gear in order to get into.
Yeah, I thought for sure that like after you proved yourself to them that they would be like, oh, you're okay. But
I mean, again, it's not that big of a deal because I guess I'm switching out armor all the time, but for some reason it just kind of bugs me.
I do wish there was a way to just be like, put on this set of armor.
Yeah.
Instead of having to like select them each. And it's so weird. The armor is the only thing that allows you to sort it 2 different ways. You can either say sort by like all the helmets together or sets together.
And I do sets.
Yeah, I do sets too because it doesn't make sense the other way.
Yeah.
But I also wish that they would just let you like group them however you want to group them. I also like the Guardian armor, ancient armor, I think is what it's called.
I don't know that I have any of it.
You got to go up to that Alaka lab in the
Yeah, but you have to like buy it, right?
yeah, you got to like buy it and trade a bunch of stuff for
Yeah, so I haven't done that yet.
it. Man, what a cool game. I do from Kilton the monster guy. I purchased a Lionel mask, which only works on the Lionels for like a second, and then they know it's you. But Link does like the posture of the Lionels, like he sticks his chest out a little bit, and his arms are like kind of crooked.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so funny, and the mask looks so crappy. I just no, there's no way I'm done with this game. I'm gonna keep going back into it and upgrading armor and finding stuff and doing shrines and collecting Korok leaves or not the leaves, seeds. Yeah, for a while.
I've also been playing some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still.
Yeah, tell me about that.
I mean, not a lot to say other than it's really cool and I'm really enjoying it.
Good. I've also been playing it a little bit, not a whole lot. Sarah and I continue to play a lot of Puyo Puyo Tetris. We had Saturday or Friday or there was some, block of 2 hours that we just lost to playing the swap mode against each other.
I went and watched the like opening cutscene
Oh yes,
of the story mode, and wow,
yeah, it's obnoxious, right?
really obnoxious. Hey, what a beautiful day. Nothing could ruin this beautiful day.
Hope we don't get pulled into another dimension. Puyo Puyo! Or whatever. I have also just been playing some Graceful Explosion Machine.
Yeah, so is that a new pickup?
No, I got it the day it came out. It's a cool, like, kind of spacey arcade style shooter. It's all about racking up combos and getting points and stuff, and switching out between your various forms of weapons and like skipping around the map using like little boosts. It's super fun. I never really want to play it for more than like 20 minutes at a time, but those are always a good 20 minutes.
How's the music in it?
It's cool. It's a little bit more like backgroundy. Like nothing really stands out to me as super cool, but like all the textures like make me excited to play it. Like I think it serves its purpose very well, but I'm not walking away from it like humming anything.
How much was it? It was like $15, 20?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
$10?
Great.
Somewhere between $10 and $20. I'll say 10. I also picked up Fire Emblem Fates. I'm on the Fire Emblem train right now. Like I'm on board, and I'm excited about the new one coming out. And I spent some my Nintendo rewards points to get a discount on Fire Emblem Fates, and I picked it up. And so I've actually been playing my 3DS a little bit.
Is this the one that is two different games, or like?
Yes, this is the one that's kind of 3 different games.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm playing through the Birthright scenario.
Did you pick it up digitally?
Yeah.
And does that just come with everything?
No. So the any version of the game just comes with either, I think you can buy all 3 of them. I don't know. So you can buy Birthright, Conquest, and I think Revelations is the other one. And Birthright and Conquest were both like day one releases, came out at the same time, and you could spend $20 to add the other scenario to it. And then eventually when Conquest came out, then you could pay another $20 to get that game.
So how did you determine which one you wanted to get?
The discount was only for Birthright.
That's a great reason.
So that's why I did it. But I probably also would have done that one anyway. It's kind of pitched as the more traditional one, and Conquest I think is a little bit either like the difficulty level is tighter, or it's like just it requires a more aggressive play style. And so I thought, I'll do Birthright, and if I finish it and decide I want more Fire Emblem, then I can move on to Conquest.
How was it going back to your new 3DS?
Not bad. I've got that bummer of a D-pad that it just doesn't. I had to like really jam on it for it to register. But it's it's fine. There is something I do like about just folding that thing up and throwing it in my bag. Like, it's so much more. The Switch is portable, like, for sure, but like it's not portable like the 3DS
I
is.
feel like I can be more careless with the 3DS.
Absolutely,
Where I'm
yeah.
just like clamshell it and then just like toss it on the couch.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is something I would never do with the Switch.
right. I mean, first of all, it doesn't close.
Great point.
Full of them. Mark, let's get into the news.
Speaking of Fire Emblem, during the April Nintendo Direct, Nintendo teased that there would be DLC available for Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, right?
I don't know.
I think it is. I think Fire Emblem Echoes is potential like branding for future Fire, sort of thing.
So like, see, it doesn't matter.
Anyway, I think that's what it is. I don't know. Anyways, they said that DLC was they kind of hinted that DLC would be available for it. And last week, that DLC was detailed. So packs can be purchased as part of a $45 season pass, or you can purchase them separately, which is different from something like the Mario Kart 8 DLC or the
Breath of the Wild
DLC, where it's like all or nothing. Of course, this is more expensive.
Right. Well, that is notable. Notable that the DLC is more expensive than the game itself, which as a 3DS game is coming in at $39.99. I've seen some I think people are upset about this price tag. And I guess I sort of get it, but I'm also like, then don't buy it. Like, don't buy the DLC. I don't know. What's your take on that? Like, do you ever get angry about there being a bunch of DLC associated with a game, or?
I feel like if the base game is, in my estimation, worth the asking price, then it doesn't bother me if there's DLC content.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for a game like this where it's not like online play will be affected, because it's not like I'm missing out on maps that other people will be able to.
Sure.
It's like Destiny, for example. I can understand, even though that's more of a service than a game. I feel like that aspect of it has become more apparent over time. And when it first came out, people's expectations for the expansions were not calibrated like they are now, where we're like, oh, this is a service that I'm buying into.
Right.
And so there were anyways, all this is to say, the Star Wars Battlefront game that came out last year, 2 years ago at this point.
Pretty slim when it came out.
Yeah, and then they added stuff, but if you didn't have the season pass, you couldn't play it online. So
that's so
the base
weird
game,
for an online thing like that.
So something like this, it doesn't really bother me, especially when it's available piecemeal. So it's because a lot of time there's DLC that I'm interested in, but I wouldn't pay the whole $30 or whatever because there's stuff I don't care about.
Right. Well, and you're obviously getting a price break if you buy the whole season pass. If you get it all separately, it's like $53, something like that. We don't need to go through what each of the packs is, but they're all very detailed in what they are. Like, Nintendo's letting you know what all of the packs are, and it's all different quests and characters and stuff like that. It should be noted that the game also has amiibo support. So if you want to do whatever the amiibo do in this game, which maybe we should have looked up. Maybe we don't know what it is yet. We'll debug that next week. That's another thing that you need to another place you need to spend some money.
So you bought the Mario Kart DLC?
Yes.
All of it?
Yeah.
And you bought, or it sounds like we will probably both end up buying the Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC.
Yep.
Have you, in your gaming experience in general, purchased a lot of DLC?
That's interesting. I mean, at some point you have to ask what qualifies as DLC, and actually now that I'm thinking about it, because I was going to bring up those little standalone experiences, like the infamous 2 Festival of Blood. I downloaded that. I purchased that and played it. It's like a standalone, like kind of micro Infamous game, um, and something like the Last of Us. Well, I forget what that DLC campaign. Again, it's a standalone thing. So I think I end up going more for like those kinds of experiences because so much DLC for me just ends up being like more challenge maps or whatever. Um, so I guess I don't buy too much. With the notable exceptions of Zelda, Mario Kart, and like over half the amiibos.
Yeah, I feel like DLC, like everything else, is totally um a lot of times companies like cheap out,
Yeah.
and it is just like challenge maps, or here's some like throwaway thing that doesn't really feel worth it.
Yeah, I mean, there's an example that I keep thinking of that is the Arkham Asylum stuff, Arkham and Arkham City, where like I genuinely like those challenge room parts of the game, but I don't need more of it. Like the amount that's in there is sufficient for me to like get my fill of beating up random guys, and yeah, so like I guess there was like Catwoman DLC for one of those games, where she got like a little story. So I guess I bought that. I guess I did buy that. Um, or DLC characters in fighting games, I'll buy those. Um, yeah, like do people give Mortal Kombat crap for because the new Injustice game has they just announced like 3 DLC characters, and there are going to be 6 more announced before the game launches, and like that's 9 extra characters that you have to pay more for, and I don't know that like anyone's like mad about. I don't know.
I think
Expectations are so weird.
yeah, I think we're just used to it now.
Yeah,
Like DLC has gone from something in, the past, I would argue 5 years, maybe even less, something that we knew was coming for like every big game,
yeah,
and would kind of grumble about each time, and now it's just assumed that something's going to have a season pass.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
like the argument just always comes down to, is it worth the money or is it not?
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of season passes
Hmm.
in general, because I'm not like uh, there's a
Yeah.
lot of DLC content I don't want, and
Yeah, you're gonna end up paying for something you don't want to
yeah,
use.
and season pass feels like a way for me, or feels to me like a way for companies to like bundle in one thing that people want
Right.
with a lot of stuff that people don't care about,
Which
or
is
that
so weird. Like, why even put those things in the season pass?
I think that it's like perceived value.
Yeah.
So I think I would be annoyed more with the Fire Emblem Echo Shadows of Valentia DLC if it was just like $45, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But the fact that, if you want to throw down $8 for one pack or $10 for a different pack, and you can determine what's worth it to you,
Yeah.
I that seems totally fair.
Yeah. It seems totally fair to me too. And also, like, if you compare it to, we were just talking about Fire Emblem Fates. If you want the whole Fire Emblem Fates experience, you're spending $80. So, like, this is what Fire Emblem is. It's not new.
The original Splatoon had map rotation for online play.
Mhm.
So what that meant is that every 4 hours they would there were 2 maps available, and every 4 hours they would change up
This is
what
in
those 2 maps were.
this is in each game mode. There
In
are two
each game
maps available.
Oh,
And
okay.
they weren't always the same 2, or sometimes there would be one overlap.
This is obviously different from most online games where like all maps are available and there's either a voting system or it's just completely random.
Mhm.
Uh it's something I've never really understood why they do it with Splatoon.
Yeah.
You played a lot more of the original Splatoon on Wii U. Did it ever bother you, or is it something that you were fine with?
No, I think I was fine with it. There's I feel like when you're playing online shooters, that you frequently get like funneled into like the 2 or 3 maps that work anyway. You know, that like the only 2 or 3 maps that people actually want to play. And that was like a nice novel thing about Splatoon, is that when there was a new piece of content, first of all, everyone got it right away for free, and the game would sort of like force you into these positions where you needed to play on that map. Um, so I don't know. There's something about like the game sort of giving you a tour of itself that I felt like it worked for me.
Yeah, so in an interview with Edge magazine, one of the producers of Splatoon 2 said that, quote, "We feel that part of the gameplay is actually selecting which weapons would be best for that combination of 2 maps."
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, it doesn't seem to be like a technical limitation of any kind. It's a gameplay choice.
Sure. Well, and I mean also like it is, I guess for better or worse, something that sets it apart from other online experiences, that like you're getting for the next 2 hours, you and everyone else playing are going to have the same basic choices of what to play.
Well, and you said every 2 hours, and that's actually what this news item is.
Yes,
Is that
sorry.
on? No, it's fine. It's that on Splatoon. The original, it was 4 hours between rotations, and even though they're keeping the map rotation thing intact, they're reducing the time to 2 hours. So every 2 hours, the maps will change in Splatoon 2.
Yeah, and I think that's appropriate.
Also in Edge, Arms is the magazine's cover article for the most current issue, and we are hearing, I think, for the first time, what the game will play like without motion controls.
All right.
So using one Joy-Con, punches can be thrown using the triggers or two of the face buttons. Jump and dash are mapped onto the other two.
Okay.
You click the left stick to guard. But since the left stick controls the angle of your punches, you can't move in one direction and punch in the other, and you can't strike at a different angle with your other hand until the first punch is fully extended either. So that's just for one Joy-Con. I guess we still don't know if the Pro controller is supported or if the Joy-Con grip is supported. I assume it is, but we don't know what controls are like for those.
Right. Well, and is this thing playable in handheld mode?
I assume it would have to be.
Right.
So this must be for like 2-player multiplayer.
Sure.
To like couch co-op or something.
The Joy-Cons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of questions about the way Arms is going to play.
Nothing about this game moves me.
Nothing?
Not I guess the fact that it's developed by the Mario Kart team.
Sure.
But other than that,
well, look, Mark and I are going to get our hands on this game and we're going to play it.
We're going to get our arms on this game.
I don't like that at all.
So at a conference in Japan, Epic Games Japan representatives talked about their support for Unreal Engine 4 on the Nintendo Switch. So the Switch is the first time that Unreal Engine is officially supported on a Nintendo console. Epic wasn't able to begin negotiations with Nintendo until they formed Epic Games Japan in 2009.
Jeez. That's late.
I think it just like goes to show. And so when the Wii U was launching, Epic was ending support for Unreal Engine 3. So if you'd ever needed proof that Nintendo was a Japanese-focused company,
right,
or a Japan-focused company, it's like Epic Games, the maker of one of the most like widely used middleware engines,
right, that you'll see at the beginning of every non-Nintendo game you play. You'll see their little splash screen come up.
They couldn't really talk to Nintendo about supporting their consoles until they opened a Japanese office.
Okay, so Nintendo's still obviously a very Japanese company focused on the Japanese market. Does this mean? What does this mean? Like, does it mean that Nintendo's more willing to play ball with like the tools that everyone else needs, or?
I mean, I think it's really great that Unreal Engine is supported.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they explained it is that like, there's like a new version of like a new like 0.19 or whatever version of the engine coming out, and when it does, there will be just like you'll just have to push a button and it'll compile it for Switch. And you'll still have to like optimize and everything.
Sure.
It'll obviously make porting games very easy. I think the bigger thing to me is it's like, yeah, if you're an indie developer in the West, good luck getting attention from Nintendo, because obviously, unless you
Right. Even
Yeah.
something as big as Epic can't court them from the West.
Yeah, and it seems like Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Europe have only so much sway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It kind of boggles my mind that it that Epic Games had to open a
studio in Japan.
in order for them to be able to talk with Nintendo. Like I really
No, it's it's dumb and weird, but like, what are you gonna do? That's Nintendo.
Another tease about what Retro has been working on all this time.
Retro.
Composer Alexander Brandon has revealed that he's working with Retro Studios, saying in a Facebook post that, quote, "The work is incredibly exciting and the team is awesome."
Okay, so what is what does that rule out?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, bad games, I guess, right?
Retro's not making a Nintendogs, I guess
Yeah.
is what we're saying.
So Brandon has contributed to like a bunch of different franchises and games. He previously worked on Thief, Dark Shadows, Neverwinter Nights 2, the Torment Tides of Numenera, which I think is that like recent what Planescape Torment
Okay.
like spiritual sequel that came out.
So what can we glean from that? So like that's all kind of like darker, more cinematic stuff.
Yeah, a lot of it's with like some sort of like sci-fi bent.
Right. So does that have everyone saying gotta be a Metroid?
Well, so the other big rumor that I didn't write down, but that's kind of come out in the last few days, is that a European studio is working on a Metroid game, specifically Climax Studios.
Okay.
Who I believe did Silent Hill Shattered Memories, amongst other stuff.
Okay.
But that they are doing but it's possible that they're just doing like support work and the bulk of it is being developed somewhere. Everybody seems to be saying that a new Metroid game is in production. Just nobody knows where it's coming from, and nobody knows if Retro's involved.
This is also something that everyone says all the time. Like,
yeah,
that there's
but
a new Metroid in the works somewhere.
That's true, but I think there's enough smoke here that there's actually
a fire.
Yeah.
Let's play a quick game here.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a like dark sci-fi Nintendo game. It is not Metroid. What is it?
If I were betting, I would say a new IP.
New IP.
Mm-hmm.
Would love to see a cool F-Zero game.
Yeah. It'd be weird for Retro to be doing it, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like that would give that to like Monster Games, who did Excite Truck and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Retro, I don't know. It's so weird. Like,
they've been on Donkey Kong duty for so long now.
Yeah, it's hard to know what kind of studio it is because, most of the people who made Metroid are long gone.
Mm-hmm.
Do we even need another Metroid Prime?
I don't know. I mean, right now the series is like half good games and half bad games, right? The like Hunters on the DS, Pinball, and this Galactic Federation one all kind of like sour the legacy of that series. I don't know. I think there's a way to do another Metroid game without making it a Prime game.
Yeah, I would like to see, and I know this is kind of like fan winking a little bit in a way, but I'd like to see a return to 2D Metroid.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be cool to see that on the Switch. So I don't know. E3 will be interesting. When you even think about it, where if there is a Metroid game and even if there is a Retro game, well, obviously we know Retro is working on something, but I'm guessing both those would be 2018 titles because
I think that's fine.
where on the release calendar can you put a game like that this year?
Yeah, there really isn't a space, but like 2018 is something that we don't know about at all.
Yeah.
For the Switch.
Yeah, other than Fire Emblem. But
oh yeah, that's right.
So, but do you even announce it this year if that's the case?
I don't know.
Right?
I mean, maybe.
So like,
I think people need to, because the sooner we, I guess Nintendo. I'm interrupting myself so much. I'm sorry. Nintendo has so many different opportunities to announce stuff. They don't need to wait for a conference or an E3 or whatever. They can just do a direct and they can announce it the day before, and it's fine.
Yeah, if somebody was, I totally agree. If somebody was asking my advice on E3, which nobody is, I would say lower your expectations. Do not get yourself hyped up because Nintendo always has, in the past recent memory, Nintendo has had weird E3s where everybody's like, what? That's it? And then like there's game announcements just made. And it's like the Switch reveal where there was like the Switch reveal and people were like, huh. And then there was a bunch of interviews afterwards where like drips and drops of news came out and they're like, wait, that's a thing that's happening and what's going on? Why isn't there a centralized message? And I feel like that's what E3 has been, where we'll be like, okay, and then afterwards we'll probably hear about some stuff that we're like, how come that wasn't in the main conference? Then some stuff won't be talked about at all. And then in September we'll get a weird direct where they announce a game for like 2019 and we're like, what's going on?
Well, and like also the things that we can get excited about end up not being, end up like not bearing out that excitement. Like I remember there was maybe 2007. I don't remember the year, but the year that they announced that Team Ninja was working on a Metroid game and the vitality sensor in the same conference, and like that's like gamer fan whiplash of being like, oh my god, what a cool sounding game, to like, what is this thing that you clip on your pants? And now we know that we shouldn't have been excited about Other M in the first place.
Or remember when before it was known as whatever name it ended up known as, but like the Fire Emblem and Shin Megami Tensei crossover that like was announced with just some weird like nebulous logo.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE is what it's called.
That's right. That's what it ended up being. Mm-hmm. But for years it was announced and then we heard nothing about it, and it would just show up in like Nintendo financial reports with a TBD release date, and fans of both franchises were so hyped up, and then that game was like released with like nobody cared.
Right. No fanfare and like no explanation as to what it is, because like those series are pretty different and like they're not the same type of game. Anyway.
So yeah.
Lower your expectations.
Lower your expectations. Don't expect to see Retro's game.
That's right.
But all that being said,
let's get the hype back up now.
One thing it seems like we should expect is that crazy Mario and Ubisoft's Rabbids mashup game that we were hearing rumors about before the Switch reveal.
Mm-hmm.
So Kotaku wrote an article about it, kind of basically laying out what it is. The name that it's going by seems to be Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle
by Ridley Scott.
Said to be released on the Switch either August or September. It's being developed by Ubisoft with the Snowdrop engine, which is the engine that they're using on all their current gen games. And based on a Kotaku's report, the game features turn-based combat, 2-player local co-op, and a, quote, goofy sense of humor.
Oh, no.
Playable characters include Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, Peach, and 4 Rabbids dressed up as those characters. They talk about there's like a particular piece of art that features Mario and crew wielding guns that shoot laser beams. So this game is real.
Okay.
And
lasers?
I mean, so even though it's being developed by Ubisoft, it seems like the sort of thing that Nintendo isn't going to be like hands off about.
Sure.
So I trust Nintendo more than I trust Ubisoft, but I trust Nintendo to at least I mean, this will be kind of other than Mario Kart, but like the first Mario game
Yeah.
that shows up on the Switch. So I don't think it's going to be bad, but I do think it'll kind of defy all of our expectations and maybe all reason.
I mean, it sounds weird, Mark.
It sounds weird. I don't love Rabbids.
I don't love Rabbids either, but I like even less that it's 4 Rabbids dressed up like 4 Nintendo characters. That seems even weirder to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to see it in action. Do want to note that even though the articles in Kotaku this week, this game's been. I mean, we've mentioned it on this show. This game's been out there for a long time. People like Laura Kate Dale and Emily Rogers have been talking and writing about this game since like November.
Yeah, a good long time. Didn't Emily Rogers just like hang up the old reporting on games shoes, hanging up her shoes to like go into actual game development?
Oh, I don't know.
I saw something like that on Twitter. Now I may just be this is Patrick half remembering something he read on Twitter. So I'm not going to debug that next week if it's not accurate.
But I think that's one thing is pretty much guaranteed to be at E3.
The Rabbids game?
Yeah.
Do you think that makes it out this year?
Yeah, the rumor is August or September.
All right.
Which seems to fit in with the like release schedule that we know for this year.
Yeah, because Splatoon is July, right? Yeah. Yeah. Need something in August or September. Great. Well, let's get into the new releases for this week.
So NBA Playgrounds, which is the NBA Jam-esque game, comes out today. On the Switch, it won't have online play at launch, but an update will happen a few days after release.
A lot of these games coming out not quite done.
Yeah. Well, so this game in particular, I was watching some gameplay video of it, and it just doesn't look that hot in general. And I think part of that is some of the fun of NBA Jam like NBA Jam is slight, right? It's really shallow. It's really just like a way to eat 2 or 3 recorders and then waste 5 minutes, right? Like it doesn't have a lot of longevity or a lot of
or even like a lot of strategy. Yes. And I mean, because the original NBA Jam had like the worst rubber band AI ever. Like you could be up by 10 and then in the last like 12 seconds the game is like, nope, now we're geniuses.
And so I think that's kind of the problem that the NBA Jam revival that EA tried to do a few years ago never really took off, because after you play it for like the fun of NBA Jam is the nostalgia.
Yeah.
Right? Playing it as like the 93 Chicago Bulls, Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Like that's
playing as the Charlotte Hornet.
Yeah. like that kind of stuff. And so I don't really know anyway, and the actual game itself does not look that hot on Switch.
Yeah.
So kind of a bummer, but I think it's just an idea that doesn't really hold up well in modern gaming.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could. I think if there's a way to make the moment-to-moment gameplay fun, then it wouldn't matter. Then nothing else really matters, right? Like, if it's a pick-up-and-play 2-on-2 basketball game where it's fun to play, then, that's it. That's all it needs to be.
The Neo Geo game of the week is, I think it's Garou,
Mark of the Wolves. I'm excited to play this one. This is a game I've never played before, but have only ever read great things about.
It's a fighting game, right?
It is, because that's most of what's on Neo Geo. There is also who is it that Hori is developing a fight stick for the Nintendo Switch that was confirmed earlier this week. No date on it yet, but that thing is going to get a lot of use just on Neo Geo games, because so many of the games that have already come to the system are fighting games, and so many more that will be coming are fighting games. Like, I'll probably get it to play Street Fighter, but there's this whole other like back catalog of like awesome fighting games that almost require that stick and button setup.
Is it going to be Bluetooth?
I don't know. There aren't a whole lot of details about it yet. But I'm I'm excited for it. Like that's the kind of hardware that makes like that can transform it into from like a, this is sort of a fighting game experience to like this is the real deal. Also, Pocket Rumble. I'm gonna use it for Pocket Rumble
Whenever that comes out.
Whenever it comes
Any
out.
day now, Pocket Rumble. Garou comes out on May 11th, so this Thursday.
Mark of the World.
And just of note that these Neo Geo games have sold over 200,000 copies collectively on Switch.
Okay.
Wow. That's a lot. That's
Yeah.
like getting up there with Snipperclips numbers.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's just one Snipperclips.
And
there are like 3 Samurai Shodown games on there, so.
And probably the big release of the week and definitely of the month on the Switch is Minecraft Nintendo Switch Edition comes out on the 11th this Thursday as well.
How do you feel about that?
I think it is one of those games that is like on every system, and if you are somebody who really likes Minecraft, then I don't know that's a system seller, but it's just another reason for like you expect it to be on your console.
Yeah, it's a box that you have to check.
I am over the age of 12, so I don't really understand the appeal of Minecraft.
Burn 13-year-olds who are still playing Minecraft.
That's right. I'm putting down 13-year-olds who play Minecraft, and I'm not afraid of it.
Come at me, 13-year-olds.
No, please don't dox me.
Oh, man, that would be scary. Taking on the 13-year-olds on the internet?
Yeah, no thank you.
So this does nothing for you.
I mean, I will fully admit, I just don't understand Minecraft. Like, it's not a Minecraft problem, it's a me problem. It's my baggage. I just don't get it. I think it's ugly and boring.
Well, there you have it. Your favorite game is ugly and boring. Mark, let's move out of the news. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. I think there's a little bit of chatter at the beginning of this recording, so
we're gonna have to wing it without further ado.
Okay.
All right, and we're trying to record it, so if you guys can keep it. Okay. No, it's okay. It's okay.
All right, let's just talk over this.
Okay, all right.
So, what are we talking about today?
Cereal.
We're talking
not
about
the podcast.
Cereal, not the podcast. So breakfast cereal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not much of a cereal eater now. Are you a cereal eater now?
Yeah.
Do you eat it every morning?
No, but I eat it fairly regularly. Like yesterday, I bought 2 boxes.
Right.
Of Captain Crunch and then Honey Nut Cheerios.
So going for like a sugary cereal with the Captain Crunch.
Yep.
Wait, what is Captain Crunch? Yes, okay, I'm there. We weren't allowed sugar cereals at all when I was a kid.
We were allowed it. We could have 2 bowls on Saturday on the weekends.
Right.
But during the week, we weren't allowed to have it. Although we were we could put sugar on our cereal.
Right.
But we couldn't have like Fruit Loops. But we could take Cheerios and just put sugar on it.
Sure.
It was a loose system.
I mean, it's probably still less sugar if you're doing that, right? Because I
don't know. You could be pretty generous.
Of course, you could be. Yeah. What were your go-tos as a kid then when you weren't allowed, during the week and you weren't allowed the sugar cereal?
When we could get our hands on it, Berry Berry Kicks.
Yeah.
Because that straddled the line between what we called sweet cereal and not sweet cereal.
It's by the way, spoiler, it's all sweet.
Yeah.
It all has too much sugar in it.
But so you don't eat very much anymore?
No, I mean, we've got a box of Honey Nut Cheerios in the house right now, and it is because that is almost literally the only cereal Sarah will eat. And last time she went grocery shopping, she wanted it and bought it. So now it's in the house. I won't eat any of it. I need something more substantial now in the mornings, and especially now that I don't eat meat, I like if I can start the day with some kind of protein, like eggs. That's what I prefer to do.
it's weird that we accept cereal as food stuffs because it's barely food. And I never even really thought about it until my boyfriend is from China and cereal isn't like really a thing there.
Right.
And so when he was explaining to me how disgusting cereal is,
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. I'm like, you're right. It is really gross. It's just processed corn or wheat.
And sugar.
Yeah.
So much sugar.
But
I mean, we shouldn't be eating it. We shouldn't be like training children that like this is a productive way to start your day.
yeah, part of a balanced diet.
Part of anytime that a cereal is part of a balanced breakfast, you gotta like zoom out to see the plate of bacon and like a grapefruit and a glass of orange juice. Like it's just not food. It's a weird snack that I don't know. I mean, like, I think we should be thinking about cereal as though it's like dessert.
I mean, I also don't
like
think
an ice cream topping.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to be really eating that much dairy either.
No.
So it's just like sugar and dairy.
Yeah, because you got to pour milk on it.
Yeah.
Which
Otherwise,
also-
it's like almost unedible.
Yeah. That's weird, right? That like, I can't think of another food that we put in a bowl and then pour a liquid over.
I mean,
It's not soup.
look, I mean, and I'm bagging on cereal, but I eat it regularly. So it's not like I'm like looking down from my ivory cerealist tower. But so like with Captain Crunch or Cap'n, there's no T in it.
Right.
With Cap'n Crunch, you have to. It's this fine balance between. Soggy Cap'n Crunch is really gross,
Right.
but if you don't like water it down at all, if you don't put milk on it at all, it's so rough that it like
It'll
cuts
cut
up
your mouth. Yeah.
mouth.
But doesn't that tell you something though? That like this thing will cut your mouth.
But it tastes delicious. It's like golden sugar.
I know, but you could just eat golden sugar. I can't believe we have tons of health problems in this country, right? I can't believe that we don't have more. Like with the amount of like sugary cereal and soda that we drink, and the fact that Starbucks is just like a weird milk and sugar delivery vehicle. All right, we're to count that as the end. They don't get any applause at the end of this thing. It's a live recording and there's an audience there. They do not get applause. We were accompanied today by Andy Jones and Christopher McCassell.
We'll never know how your health rant, how your
We'll
solution for America's health problems was going to end.
It was a really good elegant.
We'll never
elegant
know.
yeah.
We'll never know.
Let's move out of this segment. So we wanted to try something new here, right?
Yeah, we're in uncharted territory.
Uncharted territory.
Dangerous.
And you're along with us.
Yeah.
Normally I say it's
now
dangerous.
you're accomplices.
Yeah, that's right. Your hands are as dirty as ours. We did this a little bit today. We were talking about studios that are either owned by or closely associated with Nintendo. And it kind of occurred to us that, maybe we're talking about these things and not everyone knows the studios involved in this and like what kind of history they have. So we're starting a series today wherein we're exploring what these studios are and what we maybe expect from them in the future or what our experiences with them are. And we're starting with Good Feel. Good Feel most recently put out the Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World on the 3DS. And we want to like hit their like big tentpole titles first, or how do you want to approach this, Mark?
Yeah, let's we can talk about what people might know them from.
Sure. So like the biggest pillars in the last like decade from these guys, it's a pretty young studio.
I mean, they've only been around since 2005.
Right. And relatively small studio, right? You have
less than, according to their official website, less than 100 100 employees. So not just developers, 100 employees total.
Right. And their first like big Nintendo game was Wario Land Shake It on the Wii,
also known as the Shake Dimension.
That's
in
right.
Europe.
And so that's one of like their big pillars. The other two are, like I said, Woolly World and the Kirby Epic Yarn. And so let's talk about what those three games are and like what they have in common and what we think that means for them as like a developer, as like part of the Nintendo staple, right? Um, One thing that these are all platformers, right? And they are all based on existing Nintendo properties, and they're all sort of like, none of them are reinventing the way that series works, right? They're all effectively competent entries in the specific franchises with um, either a unique or striking visual style. And obviously, like Kirby and Yoshi both got the same like yarn treatment, but I think you can sort of trace that back to Wario Land, which it's not yarn in any way, but it does have these like really gorgeous, precise, hand drawn like animation frames, and big animated cutscenes that were produced by a Japanese animation studio called Product IG or Production IG, something along those lines. And it being a very striking visual experience on top of kind of a regurgitated gameplay mechanic. So I think that's what we should expect of them going forward, right?
Or that at least seems to be what Nintendo goes to them for.
Sure.
And it started with, so Good Feel was started by a Japanese developer who used to work for Konami, left Konami to make his own studio.
Etsunobu Ibisu.
And like a very small studio to start out with. And they were mostly making educational software for the Nintendo DS, because the DS was a huge, like blue ocean product. It was being used for lots of stuff, brain training, all that kind of stuff. And so they were just making small titles like training words, training quiz for companies like Educational Network Inc. So this was not like a huge, large developer. Interestingly, all of their console releases have been on Nintendo hardware, either the DS, the Wii, the 3DS, or the Wii U, and presumably in the future the Switch. But they've also done like a few like Facebook or mobile games,
right?
And so they were working on these educational titles, and a Nintendo producer or a longtime Nintendo employee named, let me get his name here and butcher it, Takahiro Harada. Harada? Well,
Right. You took a stab at it.
I took a stab at it.
You took 2 stabs at
it. One of those is maybe close.
One of those is less wrong than the other one.
So he was looking. He had been interested in a while for making a new Wario Land game, and he was playing a Konami platformer on the Nintendo DS and was impressed by it. So he did a little bit of research and found that Ibisu had worked on it, and so he got in contact with Ibisu, who explained, "Hey, I have this like new company, and that's how Good Feel got WarioWare or Wario Land Shake It,
right?
And which has led to them working on those 3 games, and then also like smaller projects and working as a support studio for Nintendo."
In interviews about Wario Land Shake It, Ibisu had he shows a lot of reverence for the Wario Land series. That like the first thing he did was have his studio, everyone working on the new game, play all the old ones and try to find a way to replicate those experiences and like really get to the core of what Wario Land gameplay experience is like. And I think that I haven't read interviews about Epic Yarn or Woolly World, but those seem to carry that same quality forward, right? Of like distilling what a game's what's fun about a game or like how a game works, and then just representing that.
Well, one of the things that's interesting about Shake It, if you've never played it or aren't familiar with Wario Land in general, is it's not like a Mario style platformer where the goal is to get from one side to the other.
Right.
End of story. You like explore the level. They're very vertical. There's a lot of verticality in them. And then in Shake It, you are trying to find like treasure, and you reach a certain point, which is like the quote unquote end of the level,
Right.
and it triggers this like countdown, or you have to race back to the beginning.
And Wario starts to like run. He starts to book it. And so you're kind of going backwards through the whole level, getting very quickly whatever like treasures you missed, or like taking paths that are now open to you that you've like triggered this countdown. And so it was a cool way to like use the same space in two different ways. And yeah, so that's like the gist of that game. But there's also and this is something that is kind of carried through all three of these big games that we're talking about, a sense of like invulnerability. Wario is frequently not hurt, right? When he catches fire, when someone starts him on fire, that's like a tool that he uses to start something else on fire. Like Wario doesn't die. A lot of the enemies don't hurt him at all. There are no lives in any of these games, right? Like, and they're all easy games to get through, but harder games to get everything, or like collect everything. So like, if there's a like common thread between all of these games, it's that there's more of a focus on experiencing them in their entirety. Like that's where the challenge comes from, instead of just getting to the end.
And Epic Yarn, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you've played more of both these games than I have, but Epic Yarn and Woolly World, they share like the similar sensibility where, again, it's not about traversing a level necessarily. You know, it's not scrolling from left to right. There's much more vertical. It's about like exploring a level as a whole.
Yeah, well, and I think that is true also just of Yoshi games in general. That like that's what Yoshi's Island and Yoshi's Story, that's what those games kind of are anyway. And so I think that Yoshi plus Good Feel is maybe one of the best just like fits of like they were already doing what Yoshi was doing, or Yoshi was already doing what they were doing. So like that's a very good Yoshi game. It's a little bit of a weirder fit for Kirby, but like Kirby's got such a weird identity anyway, that like,
yeah, Kirby's like Mario. You can kind of put him in any game.
You can kind of put him in any game, but like, I don't know. There's something about like Kirby's always going to, I guess not always, but frequently he's going to scroll from left to right. He's going to gain the powers of the enemies that he swallows, and you're going through doors, and it looks like there's exploration, but it's not really exploration. You know, like you're not going into dead ends and like finding weird little corners of the map. You're kind of just traversing. So like, yeah, I don't really know what, like I can, yes, Yoshi is about collection and exploration and platforming. I don't know what I would say Kirby, I don't know what the core mechanic of a Kirby game is. But Wario Land is a lot more of like platforming and collecting stuff, with this sort of added extra thing of being fired backwards through the level and having to, it becomes like Sonic the Hedgehog in that moment. But even better because like you're familiar with the terrain because you just traveled through it in one direction. I don't know. It's very, it trains you how to use that space. I like that game. I like that game a lot. Wario Land Shake It.
Do you think is it the best of the three like games in those style?
Of these three games that we're talking about from Goodfield, probably. Although I do like Yoshi a lot. I think they did a lot more with the yarn aesthetic in that game than they did in Epic Yarn.
Do you think that's just a benefit of being on stronger hardware,
No,
like HD hardware?
I don't think so, because the way that the yarn characters are presented in Kirby, they're just like the outline is a string of yarn, and in Yoshi, everyone is like a 3D shape of, like their models are like, this is what a crocheted Yoshi would look like in 3D space, which is just a more compelling design than just like a string, or creating the abstract outline of a character.
So one of the things when you introduce this idea of doing episodes on these like smaller, maybe lesser known
Mm-hmm.
third party studios is like I'm fascinated by this idea of, again, yeah, like a studio who is aligned so closely with Nintendo,
Mm-hmm.
and who the majority of their projects, the majority of probably their projects that like keep the studio afloat are exclusively Nintendo projects,
Yeah.
but they are not owned by Nintendo.
Right.
It's like a symbiotic relationship. Like they're just closely aligned with it.
Right. And then they get to use Nintendo IP or whatever. Yeah.
And they become almost like a farm team, where it's like Nintendo sends out, because they, will do mini games here and there. Like they've done some of those Street Pass games, like slot car racing.
Mm-hmm.
And for We Play Motion, they did like 2 of the mini games, like things like that.
Right. Well, and even in one of the Mario and Luigi, the Dream
Team.
they provided some support on that too. So like they're obviously working on their own things, but being called up for mini game production, or even for working on specific parts of like main Nintendo titles. It's interesting to consider like all of these relationships that a company like Nintendo has, and like is it a first party game? Like how do you classify it? Like that it's just one of these studios that is so close to Nintendo without being Nintendo.
I feel like since the game industry in the past 10 years has gone through this round of consolidation,
Mm-hmm.
and large game companies like Activision swallowing up like Bungie whole, like that kind of stuff, that we don't really have this idea of second party studios as much anymore. But I feel like that was a term that was thrown around a lot. It's a term that I've never really understood, because it doesn't actually make sense in what a like second person like actually is, but it's like that middle ground.
I mean, third party to third person, that also doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, if that were the case, a second party studio would be you develop the game.
Yeah, and I guess that's where the
that's
idea
where the language
came
fails
from.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the language fails us. Well, language is a living thing, so words can mean whatever we want them to.
That's right. But I think isn't second party studios or second party games, aren't those generally a third party that is published by the first party?
Yes, or like so like they're not owned by, but are closely aligned. So I guess like Goodfeel in that case would, because Goodfeel theoretically can do whatever they want.
Right.
Like Nintendo, I don't think owns any controlling stake in it, so, or like any shares at all. So if they wanted to develop for Sony or Microsoft, they 100% could.
Right.
But it seems like they're so I guess they would fit the definition of a second party studio, like one who is not obligated to
the extent that we've defined them so far. Yeah.
Which is to say that we determined the titles to be meaningless.
How do you feel about these guys, Mark? I get the sense that you're not the biggest fan of that Kirby game.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. I think all of their games are like really well produced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Wario Land Shake It with the hand-drawn animation, you don't see that. Like,
yeah, we definitely don't.
And I'm sure a lot of that is because it takes a lot of work, and if you make changes, you have to redraw everything.
Yeah.
You can't just like remodel it and render it. Like it has to all be painstakingly hand drawn. And that was the most exciting thing to me about Shake It when it was revealed. And I picked it up, and I picked up Epic Yarn as well. Good Field games are I just don't, and it's not these games in particular. It's just that form of platforming doesn't really appeal to me.
Sure.
Like I like the get to from point A to point B.
Right, without having to like fuss over all the little things in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was living with a completionist when I got Wario Land Shake It, and it was like simultaneously perfect and the worst because he was like obsessed with getting everything in all those levels. We could not move on until, and he wasn't even the controller was in my hand the whole time, and he was like, "We're going back in."
Well, I kind of, but that is in some ways like I mean, it would be irritating. It would drive me crazy because that's not how I play games.
Right, but that's how that game should be played.
Yeah, like because the actual platform in any of these games is not particularly interesting.
Sure. I mean,
the challenge is not like the platforming aspects. The challenge is the exploration and trying to get everything.
See, this is why I think that the Wario game is the best of them, because the back half of each of those levels is like a challenging platforming section. Like it actually does challenge your reflexes, and it feels like a fun, fast action platformer. But that's only in the second half of each of the levels. The first half is very much getting to every single corner and finding everything. And that balance is not present in the other two games. So you generally come down on the side of don't much care for the good feels.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't like I don't dislike. I don't think they're a bad developer. I think the games are just not for me.
Sure.
Like they're not how I enjoy games.
Are you a fan of the Yoshi games in general? I'm guessing not. Like Yoshi's Island and Yoshi's Story.
I've only ever played Yoshi's Island. And I like it, but
you hate those babies.
I hate those babies. And it was definitely one of those things where after Super Mario World, you're like, wait, what is
going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I wonder if you probably wouldn't. You probably wouldn't be into Epic Yarn.
Oh, I played Epic Yarn.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, just not Woolly World.
That's what I meant. I meant Woolly World. Yeah, Woolly World it's very much a good feel game, but it is also very much a Yoshi game.
Yeah, and I'm okay with, there being this like
sure
genre of games that's just like, I'm glad they exist, but it's not for me.
Is there so let's move on to the speculation. What do we think? Where would we like to see Good Feels talents aimed next?
Yeah, because it seems like they've have a little niche for themselves in Nintendo. They make these solid platformers that don't sell, millions of copies, but are solid.
Wonder how many
triples.
Epic Yarn sold.
And I assume it's in like the Yoshi, not Yoshi, Kirby. All these are nonsense words. It's like saying, butter over and over, and you're like,
butter,
this doesn't mean anything.
Butter.
Kirby, they're like, I'm sure they're probably like Kirby games where, they can reliably sell 1 million, 1.5 million or something, but probably don't burn the barn down.
Right. I'm not finding this information as quickly as I thought I would.
But yeah, but it does seem like, at this point, what a good feel platformer is going to be. And just like Kirby games, they sell reliably and they're reliably good. So I would imagine they're working on another, reliable, solid platformer of some sort.
Do you have any guesses as to, or hopes as to what it would be? By the way, Kirby's Epic Yarn sold 1.59 million copies worldwide.
Totally respectable. I would love to see a new Wario Land game.
Yeah, so would I. Wario Land for sure would be great. You know what else I think would be a good fit for them is Kid Icarus. Get like do it back up in that like Wario Land, shake it anime style, and just make a regular 2D Kid Icarus game.
That would
could
be
be
cool.
great.
I feel like this yarn and woolly has become its own subgenre. Like we
Yeah,
have to have a third one. You can't have two out there and then just
okay.
I feel like you have to complete the
yarn
knitting,
trilogy.
yeah, the knitting trilogy.
What completes that knitting trilogy then?
What if it's Metroid and everybody just like doesn't know what to do?
Metroid Crochet Samus.
How fun would it be to see some of these yarn characters show up in Smash?
Oh, I would like that. I mean, even just as an alternate costume for Yoshi, that would be cute. What if it is a yarn game where it's ice climbers?
Oh, love it.
And they're like tethered by a piece of
Yeah.
yarn.
Oh, that's great.
That's it. That's it.
And it's
Print it.
all about like couch co-op,
Yeah.
which Nintendo's way into.
And the Good Feel games are both Epic Yarn and Woolly World have really good couch co-op. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's the game.
Yeah.
Another thought that like went through my head. I don't know that they would have like the just pedigree for it because they do so much in the way of platforming. But just speaking of the kind of very specific visuals, remember when Star Fox was being advertised with like marionette puppets? That I want to see a Star Fox where everything is a puppet.
They kind of held on to that aesthetic in Star Fox Zero, right? Everything's a little jerky.
Yeah,
and
that's more emulating the like 64, like the so few frames of animation. If they made it really look like there were puppets, like that's what I want.
like a Thunderbirds
Yes.
type scenario,
Yeah,
or a or like the promotional art from the
exactly.
SNES.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Version of Star Fox.
Okay. Well, I feel like I know Good Feel now. Do you feel like you know Good Feel now?
Yeah, I feel good about Good Feel.
We feel good about Good Feel. I just cued the wrong music.
Nothing can kill our vibes, though.
Yeah, nothing can kill our good feeling vibes. Ooh. Okay, we got a question on our Facebook page that I think we should answer because it's a fun question. Remember, if you want us to answer any of your questions, you should write into Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com
or contact us on Twitter. We're Nincart Society. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Nincart Society on Twitter, and we are just Nintendo Cartridge Society on Facebook. Any of those ways to get in touch with us, just like Fodl did. Fodl, our first guest from our Luigi's Mansion episode, writes in saying, "Hi, Nincart Sock," which is what he calls us. So, playing Mario Kart, I recently discovered the character Rosalina, who is my favorite character to play in the game. I was very excited to learn more about her backstory and was wondering, which character in Mario Kart has your favorite backstory and why? I like Rosalina's because she doesn't fit the classic damsel in distress motif. Thank you, Fodl, for that question. I also like Rosalina. I love the Galaxy games, and even if there's like this, the Rosalina story is presented as like a totally separate thing that you have to like go into the library to hear her story. It's still cool. I like that she's like the mother of galaxies. So yeah, I like Rosalina a lot, and is one of the few Mario characters or Mario Kart characters that really has like a full story.
I was gonna say, I was trying to think. I don't think I know the stories of most people. King Boo, does he have a deal going on?
I don't know.
Or is he just like, did they just throw a crown on him and call him King? Like, does King Boo appear in a game as King Boo?
I would bet that there's a King Boo in like a Mario RPG or a Paper Mario somewhere, something like that. But yeah, I mean, like, does Dry Bowser come from somewhere? He's just a skeleton Bowser.
Yeah.
I do like the Shy Guys in these games. just Shy Guys were like they were so second tier for so long, right? That they were like they showed up in Super Mario Brothers 2, and then probably a decade went by when we didn't see Shy Guys again, and now Shy Guys are back, and I just like that Shy Guys are around.
I like My Boy Roy.
Yeah, I
One of
love
the Koopa
Roy.
kids.
Roy is the best Koopa kid. But I think that's just about those cool sunglasses, right?
Oh, that's, I mean, sure, part of it, but like the attitude, the swagger.
Yeah.
Of course, we're all big fans of 2006 Times Person of the Year, me. I assume that's the backstory.
Right. The backstory is that he actually is the
For
Time
me's.
magazine.
Yeah, for all me's.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, trying to think of like who else has a backstory of any kind. Babies, they can go.
Well, even like Mario and company don't really have a backstory, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point you have to just like extrapolate what like the story of Mario is.
Because is Mario like
is he Italian?
Is
Does
he
he come
Italian?
from Earth?
is he a plumber? Like
is he a
his
human man?
is his trade plumbing? Is that what he does in the Mushroom Kingdom?
No, he is a hero in the Mushroom Kingdom, right?
Part time.
Part time.
But you know, like, so I don't know I don't even know what Mario is anymore.
I mean, Mario is a full-time hero in the Mushroom Kingdom. I don't know why we're talking about it.
But so he's not from Earth. He's not Italian. Like, is there, right? He can't be.
He's not Italian. Yeah, no, I mean, to say that any of these characters have a story or backstory.
I mean, Rosalina
does, right. But also, she goes go-karting with, someone who kidnapped her new friend's girlfriend twice.
How come Kirby's not in these games?
Doing like a little Kirby air ride. I mean, all of the guest characters are so new to Mario Kart that like I think it'll happen with time that we'll see Samus and Kirby and 8 Fire Emblem characters.
Cloud.
Yeah, of course. And Solid Snake.
It's weird that there's Donkey Kong levels, but no Donkey Kong characters.
Other than Donkey Kong.
Yes, other than Donkey Kong.
Yeah, especially because there were 2 more of them in the Wii version. Diddy Kong and Funky. Funky Kong was in the Wii version of that game. I think there should be more. I think they should get the Diddy Kong racing characters, throw them in there too, even though I guess a lot of them are probably bogarted behind Rare's IP.
I mean, really what this question has done is made me realize, what is Mario canon, right?
Oh, you can't possibly
No, I don't mean
the idea.
I don't mean story-wise.
Yeah.
I just mean like, because I feel like in the early days of Nintendo, in the 80s, when Mario was first being like released and was a huge like phenomenon,
right?
It was accepted canon that they were like brothers from New York who were Italian,
right?
Who were plumbers,
right? Now,
I don't think any of that's true.
Brothers.
Yeah, brothers
for sure. And yeah, I don't know that they're Italian. I mean, other than like when they speak, they sound like Italian stereotypes.
Yes. But unless they're from Earth, they can't be Italian.
Well, so
unless you're positing,
yes,
which I'm willing to entertain the idea that in the Mushroom Kingdom there is either an Italy or a little Italy.
So I think there's probably a little Italy in the Mushroom Kingdom because we know that it's not as though they grew up on Earth and then moved to the Mushroom Kingdom because we've seen them there as babies.
Yes, but they seem to exist in the same reality.
What do you mean?
Well, in like the Mario Kart games. Or are we saying Mario Kart is not?
Oh, that Mario Kart is non-canon?
Uh-huh.
I think it's soft canon at best, right? Because like Link is driving around.
That's
the
true.
Inklings, like we have to say a line has to be drawn somewhere, right? And we know that Smash isn't canon.
Well, it's funny that for Smash they went through this elaborate backstory. These are toys in a toy box, and like
right.
Mr. Hand is the hand that's picking them up, and like all that kind of stuff. For Mario Kart, they've just presumably just been like whatevs.
There's no way to keep no way to keep it straight. Do you know that the original Mario Kart started off as an F-Zero game?
Yes.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So I guess the answer to your question, Fodl, is
What a stupid question. Don't ask this question. It's dumb. All right. Fodl, we love you. Write in anytime you want. And anyone write in anytime you want. We are going out on that. We're going out with me saying that question was stupid. Remember, you can always write in to us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at
gmail.com
by going to Facebook or to Twitter and contacting us there. If you like Mark and mine's opinions, skipping ahead in the show notes. You should subscribe, all of that stuff with this show. Tell your friends. And that contest that we were talking about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We've got a new idea. Let's sit on it for a second.
Okay.
All right.
Do we want to float it out there and see what people think or no?
Do you care what people think, or you want to?
I mean, I care deeply what 13-year-olds care about Minecraft.
Right.
Other than that, no, not particularly.
Okay, so it's a we'll say that it is a unique custom item.
Yeah.
And
we won't be making it, so it'll actually be cool.
Right. I mean,
we're not
involved.
But we're not going out to a woodshed and trying to put together a spice rack.
Right. I'm saying that we're going to color a page in our coloring book and send it to you. If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, you can find our conversations about comic books on retconpunch.com. We were both on a podcast recently.
Playing Favorites, wherein we discussed the original Star Wars, the 1977 version, and then reenacted it. So if you want to listen to us forgetting a lot about Star Wars, you can check that out. It's available now. And if you want to watch us play D&D on Tuesday nights, you can do that. We are the Chainbreakers Union. Dungeoneers Union, I think is the
Union.
Twitch channel.
But go to Twitch and just search for Dungeons & Dragons.
Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time.
That's right. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can find more of 8-Bit Betty's music by skipping back about 20 minutes when I messed up, or going to his website or checking this out right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?